Ah, hey, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Happy. How you guys doing? Yeah. Let's see who's in the chat. Who's here? Roger. Hey, how's it going? Happy Wednesday to you. Yeah. All the fun stuff that is coming up. Let's see if I can get this to work properly. Ooh, that's big. So many updates to Ecamm that I got to figure all this out. Let me move this over. I haven't been live for a while. I haven't been online for a while. So just want to make sure, does it sound good? Can you guys hear me? Is there music playing? What is happening? Let me know where you guys are watching from. Let me know what you guys are up to. And I hope you guys had a great summer. It's almost over. So we're on to the fall season, autumn. So before we get started, I want to know, did you guys watch the Apple event yesterday? Did you guys see, are you guys interested in any things that they launched yesterday? You guys are going to be buying the new iPhones with their new awesome tech, which is just an upgraded camera, a new Apple Watch. Though the iPhone Pro with the 120 millimeter lens, that was a little spicy. That I like that. That one piqued my curiosity. So I'm gonna have to definitely take a look at that and see how everything is. Hello, and you're coming from Love from India. How's it going? Mr. Camera Junkie is in the house. Andre, hello. The double tap on the Apple Watch 9, apparently the double tap was already there, but it was in accessibility. That's what I remember. I remember reading about that, but they kind of buried it. They didn't talk about it before. But yeah, being able to have a gesture to stop a timer, for instance. That's what I saw being useful. It's like because I end up using my nose when I'm doing something, like especially for like barbecuing or something like that. I use my nose to stop the timer. But now being able to do something like that would be very, very handy instead of using my nose. But yeah, today I want to talk about how the industry is changing and what does that mean. And I want to talk about all the industries that are changing and how that can affect you and how that affects everything all the decisions that you have to make moving forward. Because I know that a lot of people I've seen, and confirm or correct me if I'm wrong, is what I'm trying to say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of people are complaining that all these industries that are changing, especially because of AI and machine learning, there is a huge uproar for people. They don't like that. They don't like that their industry is changing. And it's one of those things where the industry that you're in is going to be affected by AI in some way, and some industries more than others. It really comes down to, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be ready for that change, or are you going to complain and not embrace it? Or are you going to go, oh, this is part of it, and now we're moving forward? Oh, apparently the new USB doesn't support quick charging. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. If it doesn't support quick charging, that would kind of suck. But it does support external hard drive recording via USB, so that's good if you're planning to shoot ProRes. It finally makes sense to shoot ProRes on the iPhone. And speaking of which, if you use an iPhone, if you use Apple products, you're actually helping them with with their machine learning, with their AI. You're helping training it. So just keep that in mind when you use all these products from all these companies. Even if you use like DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut, all those little tools that are AI based in it, you're helping train it every time you use it, because they do track, especially if you allow them to track the analytics, how that software, when it succeeded, when it didn't, if it's being used or if it wasn't being used. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that's happening to train these kind of models. So, oh, and there will be a little bit of a giveaway later on for some Final Cut goodness. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Excuse me. So where's Keynote? So yeah, I wanted to do. So definitely, I wanted to chat about how the industry is changing, and the industry changing. Oops. Can I keep going? Are you ready? What does that mean? Kind of already talked about this. Let's keep going. So a lot of the AI and the machine learning tools that are out there, and they're everywhere, and especially if you're in the creative field, or if you're working on any kind of content creation, or if you use any kind of like photography or post-production stuff, or visual arts, or writing, anything like that. It really just seems to be everywhere. Specifically, the big ones that are out there right now are the ChatGPT, so for generative text, and everything else, the competitors around that, like Bard, or what was the other one? It doesn't matter, because they're all the same. They do generative text. They just assume what the next word should be based on the prompt, and then they gather that information. And it's getting better and better. Like it's crazy how good it has actually become, even in the last year. There's also Midjourney, and if you look back 2 years ago to the crazy nightmares that that Midjourney was creating, to the beautiful art that it's creating now. But just keep in mind, and let me know your thoughts on the like Midjourney and those kind of AI photos. Have you gotten tired of them? Have you gotten tired of seeing them? And when you see them, you're kind of like, meh. Like, that's how I feel. I feel that AI imagery has gotten to the point where it just seems like a commodity. It's like anybody can do it. Cool. You know, it's like whatever. You put in a prompt and you create something based on all these learnings of great artists from beforehand. So when we see it, we're kind of just like, it's okay. Like, there's nothing special about it anymore. It just feels mundane already. And like it peaked and then went like, meh. Like, it really comes down to how do you see yourself adapting to this world where majority of low-level clients, where a lot of people are going to start using these tools. That's where I want to talk about in today's video, like in this stream. How are we going to be able to use these tools when people that are starting to get into it, or professionals, if you've been doing it for a long time, are you going to be able to incorporate it into your workflow? Now, some of the guys that I work with, we've been heavily researching and trying these AI tools, like Midjourney, ChatGPT, the Runway ML, and then there's like other companies like Palantir, where they do the trend analysis. They take massive amounts of data and find patterns that humans would just not be able to find. 1 second. Roger, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The generative AI fill in Photoshop beta is really helpful. And I want to explain to you. So I've been doing photography and working in the creative field. I've been literally a content creator since graduating university. Let me rephrase that. I didn't graduate university. I actually stopped because I was able to transition into the film world before I finished university. So after I got out of university, I was in the, let me move to here. So after university, I went into film and video, and I started working on film sets, and I worked on some big films, just literally starting out, like in the lower levels of it. But like I've been content creating since 2003, so 20 plus years now, I guess. And when I started with Photoshop, I was literally cutting and pasting and doing those collages and blending between different assets and creating those crazy things that now generative AI is able to do in literally 10 seconds. And that's work that is industry-wide, just crushing that whole industry, the compositors that would bring and do these collages that would make beautiful work. It's still not perfect, but like within a year, because it's still technically beta, within a year, it's going to be something that anyone that knows how to use Photoshop is just going to use it. And I use it really, I use it often. I heavily use it now in my work to get work done faster. Because the one thing that people that are willing to pay for the kind of creative work that's out there is, if you can do the same kind of quality of work in half the time, that's what people end up paying for. There is no one-stop solution yet, don't quote me on it, there's no one-stop solution right now where you can find an AI tool that will just, you put in one prompt and it'll give you a perfect video. It just doesn't exist. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. There may be a point where we get into video production where you put in a prompt and it creates a good enough video that people will just then take, and it's a 1 minute video, it's an informative video or an education video, and just put it out there, and it's good enough. And again, those are the clients that are down here. Those are the ones that don't want to spend, and they wouldn't want to spend anyways, and they had a $100 budget to begin with. So those are the clients that these tools are going to service immensely. But then there's the second tier of clients that will use those tools, but they'll also hire you to help refine it, to know how to make the prompts better, to get closer to what they're looking for. And then you have the next tier of clients that will use those tools to to iterate ideas very quickly and be like, okay, what works, what is AI taking all this information of all these target audience groups that we're trying to hit, and they're going to use that as the base, and then use portions of that to create their videos, their final products. And then you have the top tier clients that will use those just to iterate quickly, but then create everything from scratch, using other tools to help them make stuff faster. Like for instance, do I use DaVinci Resolve for color grading? I do, but I don't use it as much as I need to, like especially for my own personal work. I don't tend to, for my personal work, I just stick in Final Cut Pro because it has the basics of what I need to do. If I'm doing a higher end project where I need to do that kind of color grading, I'm going to hire someone with that eye, that mindset, that knows not only the software, but knows the reasoning and how to do it as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Like there's a finishing guy that one of my friends works with, and he charges like $3,600 a day just to do finishing work, like that high-end finishing work. And this is a guy who works from home. So if you want to get really good at that, there is opportunities to make money doing that kind of stuff. Just know that there is colorlab.ai, which is trying to, they're coming in and they're going to be doing AI color grading through, and it's just like it's a plugin that works in Final Cut Pro, that works in DaVinci Resolve, and that works in Premiere Pro. And you give it a reference item, and it just it 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 translates it perfectly. So colorlab.ai, it's a plugin with a subscription. It's pretty cool. I tested it out again, but I don't do enough color grading for it to be part of my workflow. That being said, there's a whole industry that is going to disrupt. And so, which gets us back to here. Like, these are the industries that are currently being disrupted. So you have content creation, film and video production, music production just is getting slammed. There's a whole sub thing that's coming up right now about how AI music creation is becoming so good that even if an artist creates this amazing piece of music, there will always be this underlying thing like, yeah, but AI helped you. Like, that's where we're at right now, where anyone that creates something that is literally revolutionary or like amazing is just gonna be like, yeah, AI probably helped them write that. And so we're like in this crazy phase where even the most talented people are going to get, kind of tied to this. And it will be hard to prove that AI wasn't the underlying factor that helped them get there. Photography, for sure, you have computational photography, which is going to just become more and more prevalent. That auto setting that you have on SLRs or DSLRs or even mirrorless cameras? Well, there's going to be a moment where you'll be able to take a picture and work on the depth. It'll take like several photos, different focal lengths, different exposures, and then in post you'll be able to just change it. Like, Apple is already showing that we can do that on the iPhone. That's exactly what the iPhone is doing. There's nothing stopping Sony, which creates all the sensors for the iPhones, for just doing their own version of exactly that using machine learning. So we're at definitely a new epoch of where this whole AI thing is going. So visual arts, we talked about that, Midjourney, enhanced personalization. So that's custom recommendations for you. So when you scroll the next thing that's going to pop up in your feed, or if you search something, what are you more likely to buy in that same thing? Video games is getting to a point where all the NPCs in the games are now being it's not even motion capture anymore. It's just they're using AI to train how all the NPCs fight. The marketing and advertising trends. Oh, training and education. That's not supposed to be training and education. It's training and education in finance. These are all the things that are being disrupted, all these industries. Let's see what's next. So this is nothing new. This disruption is nothing new. We have been here before, and not necessarily you and me. Well, to an extent, and I'll explain it in a second. Because the printing press, the car, telephone, internet, and AI were all these tipping points of just this new innovation. When the printing press came out, all the people that were the scribes that were there literally writing all that stuff, their jobs slowly went away. Sure, it took 500 years, but that's a whole other thing. When the car came out, all these people that owned horses, all of a sudden nobody wanted horses anymore. And that transitioned. And now and all of these are transitioning into the next phase. So cars are soon going to be autonomous. So now drivers of these cars, it's like we're going back to machine horses, where the horse will drive itself. The telephone was another big one. Communication. People thought, that like, well, the mail industry is going to die because no one's going to send mail anymore. Well, that didn't happen. But then you got the internet, and so emails. It's like, well, now mail, again, the whole mail things. People still send packages. People still send mail. It's actually a bigger industry than it was before. The telephones are now smartphones. And now we're at the next big thing, which is AI. So we're getting to the point where it's just another bounce. We need to adapt because all the people that were working on farms when the industrial revolution happened, those people transitioned to become farmers. Not necessarily one for one, but like the next generation came up and there were all these new jobs that were created. And when the car came out, like taxis, like transportation just exploded at that point. So we're definitely at a point where when the internet came out, people thought that regular stores were going to close. No one's going to so when online shopping came out, people thought like, hey, you can't do this because no one's going to shop at their stores anymore. And that transition did happen. And it is happening and it will continue to happen, but it actually created more opportunities. And that's what I mean by the industry is changing. Are you ready? So how do we move forward? So what can you do? What is the thing that you're doing? Here's what I'm doing. I'm looking at all these tools and I'm seeing how I can incorporate them into my workflow. It's the same thing that I did when I started in school. I was learning on actual film, and then we would film, and then because that was the highest resolution that we could get, but then we would transfer that film to videotape, and then we would edit the videotape, and then we would take the whole EDL, the edit decision list, and send that back to the film place, and then they would make all those edits on the film, and then spit out the film version. So a lot of film editors were complaining that, well, no, tape to tape, like you can't do this, like that changes the art form of editing. Sure, maybe their art form, but then when digital came out, all of the tape to tape editors were saying, because there's a whole different process you have to think about. Like you couldn't just go and edit something in different places. So when digital editing came out, it literally meant like you can freeform, change things, move stuff around. And then high-end cameras that could record in HD, and then 2K, and then 4K, and then the film people went, question. Yeah, definitely ask questions if you have any questions. Please put a Q in front of it. I'll search for it. And yeah, and remember to hit the like button, because I appreciate the early thumbs up. I remember the days of loading software through a K7 tape. Yeah, one of my first computers was the Tandy 1000. Don't ask me what it was because it had those huge floppy disks and whatever. But the whole idea of a disruption in the industry is a good thing. When I see opportunities like this, when I saw the digital camera come out, and one of my friends was one of the first people in Canada to own a Red One, and it was just like, it was amazing. For us who grew up doing film work and everything, that if we wanted to make films or high-end stuff with high resolution, it had to be on film. So when the Red One came out, shooting in 4K, and like just created this quality, we're like all in, because we're spending so much money and time on processing film and shooting film, where this, like, for the same amount that it would cost to process like one of our short films, we could buy this entire camera system and not have to worry about processing film. Like for us, that was revolutionary. Like we're in our mid-20s and just going like, this is bonkers, I love this. And a lot of people saw the same thing, but everyone kind of upstream of that was saying, upstream of that was saying that like, this is going to ruin the creative filmmaking. It's like, it's not the same. And that's the same story that's happening with when we went from analog to digital in any format. Internet was going to ruin journalism. Has it? or has it changed it? I don't know if it ruined it, but maybe it's changed it, not necessarily for the better. Like the 24-hour news cycle, I think, did more damage than going from digital to from going from analog to digital. It really. Oh, there's a sound delay. 1 second. Let me look at that for 1 second, because I was getting that too. I couldn't figure it out. And see if I can. I won't be able to do too much without restarting the stream. But that's a whole nother thing. Give me 1 second. But does it sound okay though? And just don't look at my mouth. I'll just talk like this, and that way I'll be in sync. Movie magic. Like when I started on film, let me know if the delay is better or worse at this point. Anyways, so when I started on film, trying to do any kind of visual effects was like, forget it. Like you just no. The answer was just no. There was just no opportunity to do it. When everything moved to digital and we were able to digitally manipulate stuff, it really comes down to just being able to do stuff frame by frame. And so we would rotoscope, literally cut stuff out. We would take frames from the video and bring it into Photoshop and cut them out frame by frame, like if we wanted to do any kind of visual effects. So when they introduced masking and stuff like that in the editors, or we learned After Effects a little bit better, and then same thing, it was literally creating masks around everything, and it would just be a team of people rotoscoping stuff, where we've gotten to the point where now AI has helped in that, where the tedious tasks are now gone and you're able to do stuff a lot quicker. Like, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. And like for the first pass, and then you just go rotoscope the parts that it kind of messed up on, like those are time savers. Those are crazy time savers. I will answer your questions in one second. I see the question in the chat. Just want to kind of finish that thought. So I use all these AI tools to help get the end product out quicker. And now with tools like Gling and other AI enabled editing features where they get rid of the silences, all that kind of stuff, a lot of editors are complaining that like they're losing their opportunities. So circling back, what do you do? How do you find ways to continue working in this industry? And I'm in a position now where a lot of my work comes from word of mouth, and I have like 5 to 10 clients a year. And that took me 15 years to develop and get to this point. And to build trust where I can work from home and people send their stuff and I deliver, and they, I deliver the high quality and they pay. So it took time to develop that. But if I was to start right now, if I was to start knowing the tools that are out there, I would learn all of the skills that I need to learn, like to understand, because in the creative field, it comes down to being able to tell a story, either through the music, through the still image, or through the motion picture. And you want to be able to captivate and get people's attention, because that's ultimately what this whole field, the creative field, is like, can you get someone to look at your art and feel an emotion and get them to emote and maybe share that with someone else? So if I was to start right now, I would almost exclusively not look at trying to find clients right away. I wouldn't, because all the clients that would be willing to work with me with zero experience would be ones that wouldn't want to pay. And even if I was willing to work for free for bigger clients, they'd just be like, there's no reason, there's no incentive for them to work with you or to let you work on them. Like, unless you know someone that's already in that industry that can help you get in there. But if you don't, like literally starting from scratch and you have like just the basic skills, I would work on your own content. I would literally make little short videos. I would do something that would be able to capture some attention and learn how to capture someone's attention. One of my first jobs, and this is why I kind of say that, because it's working now, and this is how a lot of like people in their mid 20s are getting these huge profile jobs. One of the first jobs I ever got, I created a demo reel of work that I created for myself, and it was just doing these different things. There's a collage of just, you know, my abilities. And when I got hired, or I got the call and came in, they chatted with me, and they knew that I was a junior. But I asked like, what, like after I got hired, because I didn't want to say anything during the interview, I asked, what was it that made you hire me? And they said that there was something in my demo reel that they hadn't seen before, and they saw that potential. And that's really what you need to do. If you want to get noticed by people, you have to be able to create stuff that gets noticed. Work for yourself, work for free, create those things in your spare time. Create something that garners that kind of attention. Because if you can get attention on something that you create, and you create constantly, then those people will turn to you and be like, we like that you can get attention. That's really what it comes down to from clients. Can you get the results that they're looking for, which is just brand awareness? They want the kind of attention that you're able to provide, that you're able to bring in. So just keep going and keep trying stuff that you have not seen before. So if you're just learning that, if you're learning it, learn stuff that is to get you there. But then take that and create something that no one has seen before. And it could be not the best thing in the world, but it won't matter, because if it's different enough, you can get that attention. There's I don't know if you guys seen the emotional damage guy. He did a whole talk about how he created this stupid skit, and you know, it was whatever, like he posted it in, it didn't get any views, but he liked the character that he had created in it. So he's just like, well, he just created another one. Again, no views. He created another one, no views. He created 8 of these videos just with this character because he thought it was funny. And he did other stuff. He did other stuff in between. But after 8 videos, the 8th one is the one that got attention. And not only did that one get attention, all the other ones that's preceded it got attention. And that's where he got all this attention. I'm not saying that you create 8 videos, that's how it's going to happen. But he didn't shy away from something that didn't work. He liked what he was creating. But then he was able to get attention, and now all of a sudden people want to work with him. So that's what I would do if I was to create from scratch at this point and try to get that attention. Like, I'm definitely in a different part of my life where I like doing the post-production stuff. I like creating the kind of content that I create. My excitement to be on set is not there anymore. I like being at home. I like being close to my family. I don't necessarily want to travel, 4 a.m. to get to the perfect sunrise. Maybe I'll come back to that for photography, but like I'm not at that point. So the things that I focus on is how can I improve my workflow? How can I improve what I'm able to actually create and create it faster, because that is more valuable to the clients that I already have. And so that's why I created this whole channel, is to find things that actually work and then share those things that, like, hey, this is pretty cool. You guys should use it because this speeds up my workflow. And ultimately that is the thing that people value. It's like, can you create something that has a lot of views to it, or can you create that in half the time? Those are the 2 value things that you need to be looking at when you're creating your stuff. Okay, let's answer some of these questions. So my thoughts on the Final Cut Pro iPad version. I think it's cool. I think it's my daughter thinks it's great. It has one feature that I would love to be able to use, is the scribe. Like being able to animate. I wish that there was a way I could connect the iPad and use the iPad to draw and have it draw right in Final Cut Pro. I think that would be really cool. It's not for me. It's not targeted at me. The iPad is not my main device. I'd much rather have a laptop and the full version Final Cut Pro. Like a laptop versus an iPad Pro is almost the same dimensions and weight. Uh, the 15-inch MacBook Air is more powerful than the, in my opinion, than the iPad Pro, and it has a bigger screen and has more versatility. It's just a better machine overall. So I think it's cool, especially if if the iPad is your only option as your main device. But definitely check out DaVinci Resolve on iPad. Like, there's more functionality if you're using that. um, oh, the sound. Yep. Sorry, what? Okay, I'm live streaming. It's my wife. So how many chicken nuggets will you have to consume for you to completely bloat the bathroom? A great question. Great question. Can sites like Runway ML really replace the minute details that we can imagine? It's a great tool, but how far will it go? Right now, not that far. And this is what I was kind of mentioning earlier. We're at a point where we looked, the guys that I work with, like industry professionals, we looked into all these tools and we're like, these are great tools, but they're not powerful enough to do the full work. Like Midjourney is a great tool to help springboard the ideas, to be like, oh, I have this kind of idea, I'm picturing it, and then you kind of do your mood boards and you figure that out. But then you can't really take that to Runway ML and be like, okay, make the thing that I see in here. We're not there yet. Like, you'd have to do a lot of finessing. You'd have to do a lot of manipulation. And maybe you can do one shot, maybe you can do two shots, but like trying to do a whole, even 1 minute video that is just flawless from the beginning to end, like, no, we're not there yet. Not, it's like maybe one day you can just jam your fingers on the keyboard and spit out exactly what you're looking for. You put in your 1 minute script or a full feature length and be like, hey, make Indiana Jones 6. Like, maybe we can get there, but like, how much editing can you do? How much refinement can you do on that? That's where it's really going to come down to. Like, right now, it's one of those things where it's a one-stop shop. Like, you put it in and it spits it out, but then when you want to edit it, like if Midjourney was able to spit out a Photoshop file and have all the different elements where you can then go and tweak it and manipulate it, because like sometimes it's hard to articulate exactly what you're looking for, and it can get it close, but when you want to create something very, very specific, you have to use it as a starting point and then still manipulate the shit out of it. So like, unless you want to start typing and typing and typing and typing, a professional artist will be able to get there faster, because they'll be able to interpret and ask the questions of like, well, are you looking for something like this or something like this? Where none of these tools ask that. There's no follow-up. They're just like, they just spit it out. Be like, this? No? This? No? And it's just like this whole, and it's a frustrating process, especially if you're an artist, where you're just like, get out of my way, and like you want to go and just create it. So you have to understand that these tools are going to be great tools for what you're trying to create. So to prepare for it, start using the tools, see where they break, see how they break, and see and understand that a client is going to have the same kind of frustrations and more frustrations than you would have with these tools, because at least you understand how to make the proper prompt. When it comes down to like websites for web developers, having these kind of tools is going to be great to create little snippets, but like a client that has no no developer mindset, they're not going to be able to like, make me a website that is a banking website. Like, no, that's just not going to happen. Like, you have to understand what it needs to do and how it works. Like, if you put in the prompt and it spits out this code, you can't just put it on the internet and go like, oh, there's my code. Like, it's like, I don't know how close we're going to be able to get to that without professionals still looking at it and going like, what is this garbage? Like, you can't put this out there. Like, it just breaks in so many different ways. Maybe we'll get there at one point. Make me a website like this website, but then you're just copying what has already been done. You're not actually creating anything new. So what are the pain points that a lot of clients are going to have with these tools? Is that it's just going to spit out what has already become mundane artistry. Like, we look at these things and it was fascinating that, like, wow, AI can do that. Now it's kind of like, yeah, AI did that. Like, that's where we've gone to in the last 6 months, instead of going like, oh my God, we can't just, like, oh, the entire time. Like, we're not excited about seeing AI generated work. We're moving into the video portion of getting excited about that. But when you see an AI image, you kind of just like, meh, yeah, I just scroll by. It's not as exciting anymore. But you know, when you see a new movie come out, and you're like, oh, that, like, I like that actor doing that thing and in this, and you want to go see it because of the story that's going to be told. Like, we watched the latest Indiana Jones film, and like, I didn't hate it and I didn't love it at the same time. It was entertaining. I liked it. I liked it because it was Harrison Ford. I like Harrison Ford. I like Indiana Jones. It felt like an Indiana Jones movie, and I was entertained. I wasn't blown away because it had these great, amazing visual effects. It just, the story really is the thing that drives the whole thing home. So I don't care how fantastical the images are, because we've already been saturated with amazing quality. So what does AI offer that is above amazing quality? Uniqueness? How? Because it's just recycling stuff that people have done before. Okay, that's fine. That's the way art works. But what is it about it that oh, I'm gonna watch the AI movie? Maybe, I don't know. Like, if it creates something amazing and then we watch it, great. But like, is everything going to be amazing? No, because I think we're going to get to a point where it's just mundaneness. So you have to find a way to bring your twist to it, because there's no AI that'll be able to change what you're, to be able to react the way you would. Great question. Yes, Final Cut Pro will get native ACES because the iPhone 15 Pro has it. And the reason it's going to need it is because the iPhone 15 Pro has it. So there's going to be spatial video is going to be something that is, you're going to be able to edit spatial video in Final Cut Pro. That's coming. ACES is going to come in. I still feel that Final Cut Pro is going to have a huge, not necessarily overhaul, but they're going to add in a lot of AI tools that are going to help sell all these new features. Like, there has to be a way to create content for the Apple Vision Pro. So maybe there will be a big update for that. Maybe not. Like, when Apple mentioned ACES in their presentation, they had DaVinci Resolve. So they're kind of leaning on Blackmagic to be like, hey, you're gonna do this stuff too, right? Yeah, you're gonna keep up with us. I'm curious to see what Blackmagic is going to be announcing. I think tomorrow or on Friday, the 15th, 14th or 15th, we're gonna get to a point where it'll be there. Like, Final Cut Pro is going to get ACES in their workflow. Any other questions? Yeah, ask me any question about Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve. What are your thoughts on it? Would it make sense to have ACES in there? Actually, I think having it, I think every every project is going to have ACES in as a native thing. It just has to. Like, that's where we're going. Like, just like every app had log as part of their workflow, and being able to add LUTs and do that thing. Like, it's coming. All those things are coming. Will Final Cut Pro get a big enough update to make it worthwhile? for people to stay with Final Cut Pro, like professionals? That's what I'm curious about. Because Final Cut Pro is in this like weird yeah, maybe iMovie will get Aces before Final Cut Pro. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, the iPhone got Aces before Final Cut Pro. It's like that's an Academy color something sciences. I can't remember what it stands for, but yeah, it's like the iPhone as a capture device got that before Final Cut Pro got it as an editing standard. And Color Finale Pro actually has Aces built into their workflow. So technically Final Cut Pro has it through a third party. So maybe Apple was kind of like, if someone really wants it, there it is. It's you know, they don't talk about it. They don't mention it too much. Am I excited about what how Apple can get into this? And the reason I think Apple will do a big push is because how much content they're creating. So if they see the pain points of what professionals are going through and they're like, hey, we can do this better, they may just add it in. They may be like, hey, like, or maybe their production companies are like, no, we're using DaVinci Resolve. Just, you know, leave us alone. Don't, we're not even gonna bother with Final Cut Pro. It's just not there, unless there's a huge incentive. Only use Max, only use Final Cut Pro. But I don't see them using that. I see them giving the artists the creative freedom to create with whatever. And the high-end shows, they're probably not using motion to create any kind of visual effects. I'm pretty sure they're using Nuke and other industry standard tools. So I don't see them forcing them to use one thing or the other. Now, if Apple buys Disney and they own Pixar and stuff like that, like maybe they can incorporate some of these higher end tools. Do I think Final Cut Pro will be subscription based after the new overhaul? If they release something that is bigger than Final Cut Pro and don't call it Final Cut Pro, I think that may be what they do. I think they may create, you know, Final Cut Studio, where you have Final Cut Pro, which is just the editing thing, but then you have Final Cut Studio, which gives you all of everything you could ever want. They may do that, where they bring Pro Color Tools, a compositor, because they own Shake. Shake? Yes, they own Shake. So technically, they could make a Nuke version or an updated version of Shake, which the developers ended up going and turning into Nuke. So the original developers left after Shake was bought out, and they created Nuke. So they could. You are right. The audio is out of sync. I'll have to fix that on the next stream. I don't know what it is. It could be something as simple as here. Let me. How's this? Is this a little bit better? I quit one of the things. Let me know if the sync is a little bit better. So yeah, I think Apple, if they release something that is a huge package of tools that kind of competes with DaVinci Resolve, which has because they had Soundtrack, which is their mixer. They had they have Shake, so which has some underlying things. Good, better. All right, I'll know for the future. So they have Shake, they have Soundtrack, they have Color. They have these things which they stripped down and brought into Motion in Final Cut Pro. But there is nothing better than, you know, Shake or Nuke or After Effects even. Like Motion is cool, but like I wouldn't use it. I don't use Motion. Like I'll go to After Effects and create something. I don't feel like I need to learn a whole nother app to be able to create the kind of things that I want to. Like After Effects has literally everything for me. But again, I'm this weird person where I use Final Cut Pro and After Effects, but I'll use Photoshop and Premiere and DaVinci Resolve and Fusion. It really comes down to this is the dilemma I get into every single project that I start. How do I choose the best program for this? Because ideally, if I had my choice, I would use Final Cut Pro and After Effects because I'm just comfortable in the speed thing. I'm able to do stuff faster. So again, the thing that my clients value the most, the speed. But 9 times out of 10, clients ask for a package collect of everything. So After Effects, no problem. I can give them a collect of that. But the editing package, I can't do that. I have to do that from Premiere. And because that's usually what they ask for, because that's the one that they have. That's the industry standard. So then I have to make that choice. Do I start the project in Final Cut and then transfer it to Premiere later and then try to recreate stuff? But Final Cut has so many things in it that just don't transfer to Premiere. Or do I start in Premiere and just kind of cobble my way through it and get there eventually, but then it saves me trying to recreate it and do a collect later? Or do I do it in DaVinci Resolve and just send them DaVinci Resolve as a collect? But that poses its own things. Like I still wouldn't use Fusion because I'm not that great in it. And there's so many complications and things that you need to do in DaVinci Resolve for it to be, it's just not as fast for me. So to try to get it to a point where I'm comfortable in it, that's really why I prefer Final Cut over everything else, because I can just work so much faster. Especially when you're doing the rough cut, I can just slap everything in there. I don't have to worry about setting up the project, nothing. I can always change that a little bit later, and I can just lay down the whole timeline and start the rough cut edit. Like it's literally within seconds of bringing in the footage, I'm doing that. Whereas DaVinci Resolve, I feel like I need to make sure that the project setting is right, because then there's a lot of weird things that happen if you try to change that later on. That's how I feel. So I think for spatial video is the future. I'm most excited for that. I mainly do a lot of real estate media, and I think that would be a game changer for real estate media. Yes, but like we're borderline their spatial video is just 3D video. Like it's stereoscopic video. That's all it is. So is it really, like, just because they call it spatial video doesn't mean that it's revolutionary or brand new. It's gonna work great in their VR headsets, VR, AR, spatial video, but it's not new, and it has its ups and downs. The one thing that Apple has going for them, and this only time will tell, is will their pass-through be so convincing that people won't get motion sick, it will feel good. That's where the adoption will come from. Like the reason it's $3,500 is because the tech that's in here, the eye trackers, the actual video screens, those things have to be so good that it's nearly indistinguishable. That's where we need to get to. I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we're just wearing glasses with clear lenses and it's being projected onto our eyes. I don't know if we'll get there anytime soon. Maybe eventually. But it may be more contact lenses, like things that are really right on your eye. That way there's nothing between you and what you're seeing. But like that is like miles away when it comes to trying to get the processing power down to something that's small enough but responsive and quick enough. Like I'm curious. I'm curious to see where their whole headset will go. I'm curious to try it out. Like I've done my fair share of stereoscopic videos, animations. like I have a history of working on 3D films and 3D full-on immersive technology. Is it, did Apple crack it? Is that's where I want to know. I want to know, is it good enough where people are like, this feels good? Because that's what's going to come down to. Like every time and because I had to wear these things on my head while we're playing with it, while we're practicing with it, and VR and AR, like the HoloLens that Microsoft created, it was just, you get tired of wearing this thing on your head. And then the VR headsets, same thing. You get tired of wearing this thing on your face the entire time. So there has to be a real incentive for someone to put it on and keep it on. Like with a phone, you can be anywhere, just pull it out and you have it. So I am curious to see how the adoption rate is. Like a lot of people are going to, like a lot of developers and high-end people are going to go crazy for it and think it's great. But will enough people want to slap this thing on their face when they're at home? I think they'll do that. When they're out, I don't know. I don't see it. Like not enough people use AR and VR right now, and because it's so tied to this history of it just being subpar. I think that's why Apple, named it spatial video instead of stereoscopic, which that's what it is. So, in the realm of AI generated content, do you foresee a future where AI's driven scripts, characters, and scenes are capable of winning awards and critical acclaim in the film industry? Honest answer? No, I don't think so. And the same reason why I feel when I look at AI generated art right now, it's kind of like, meh. Like the moment it's AI generated art, it's no longer, there isn't that mystique. I'm more interested in the people that created the AI tools. Like those guys are like, wow, that's great that they're able to do that. But like the AI art that comes out of it, there's, I don't know. Like unless they create a category for best AI self-generated thing. But again, like we're so used to super high quality of these amazing stories and these amazing scripts, the visuals, the sound. Like I think AI will play an important part to create faster. So there's still a long history of people that are going to be needed to create the content, to refine it, to get it to a point. Because we're spoiled with high quality already. Like some of the films that we've seen in the last decade are just like, they're amazing already. Like, but if you knew that there was no human behind it, would you still care and feel like, it's almost like the same thing where there's these, anytime there's like especially a kids movie where there's bad guys, they're always robots, so you can just kill them because there's like no emotion, and then just slice them down and the robots are dead. So it's like, is it just going to have that feeling of it doesn't have the same kind of life because we instantly know it's not, it's AI generated. And this is going back to, even if someone creates something, a human creates something that is just mind-numbingly amazing, will they be tagged with, yeah, but like they used AI to help them, and so they're diminishing what someone actually did. This is the part where it's like, oh, and one of the things that scares me about AI is that these tools will get better and better and better. And I'm not too worried about the doomsday thing because that's like on par with nuclear stuff. Like I'm worried as much about that as anything. Like a stupid human could just create that. So like a smart AI, if that's what they do, like it's whatever. It's just like, that's something that you don't have control over. But the thing that like actually scares me is that I'll start using this tool so often that I won't actually want to pursue learning these new skills anymore. I won't want to pick up the camera because I can just tell Photoshop to be like, make me a picture of a sunset instead of going out to experience it for myself. Because we experience so much through our screens right now that why go out and take that picture when I can just, make me a picture, boom, post it to Instagram. Yeah, look how great my AI art is. Like some of the things that the subtext to how that photo was captured is just as intriguing. Like when you see someone on top of a mountain taking this breathtaking photo, it's not only the photo, it's like the subtext of like that person had to get there to take that photo. So there's that inherent danger and adventure that is tied with it. But if we see an AI photo of the same thing, well, where's the mystique? Where's the subtext? It's like, this is just numbers. Like, are we going to get to a point where like anyone that's like above a certain age, they'll feel that, but then like our kids are going to be like, my kids see some of the, like, they watched Ninja Turtles movie, the new one that came out, and like I thought it looked great. I thought it was like the story was nice, and it was a fun movie. But like that's what they're used to. That's their normal. Like I remember watching the first Ninja Turtles movie when it came out in the 90s, where the rubber, and it was just like, and I was like mind blowing. I was like, how are they doing this? I don't understand. Like my kids are like, yeah, whatever. It's just for them watching any of these movies. It's just that's normal. Where before that, like when people saw Star Wars for the first time, that like they lost their minds, and now we have Star Wars like gluttony with everything, and we're just kind of like, man, boy, it sucks. That's the worst show ever. It's just like, dude, we're watching Star Wars. Like, so there's this disconnect between quality and like expectation, where it's just like, meh, like everything's meh. How is everything so boring all of a sudden, where it's just like, we're getting all the things we want and it's not good enough. So is AI going to make it better? I don't know. I seriously doubt it. So do you have any experience creating content for digital signage using large LED screens, billboards, anything to keep in mind? Color grading, settings, frame rates, different from LED screens. Yeah, I've done plenty of huge billboards. I've done concerts. I've done huge shows for Tony Robbins. I worked with you name a car company, I've done their reveals. And it really comes down to the system that they're using. Most of the time, the frame rates are 30 FPS. The color grading, it depends on the screens and the system that they're using and the compression that they're using. I've worked with some weird compression formats that I've never heard before, and that took forever to compress to, because that was the only thing that this computer that they were using before. Because it's not just one giant screen. It's like you have this machine that is playing out to essentially 12 different screens. So you have to create 12 HD videos that all intermesh, and they give most companies give you a template of how their screen layout is going to be, where the blend points are going to be, and how you have to do each one of these videos. Very rarely was I able to just give them a full video to the same scope. And what they would do, they would just chop it up themselves at that point. But now those systems have become much better, where you can give them that full video, and it'll put it into the video, and it'll automatically chop it up into the display format. Most of it is Rec 709 still, or Rec 2020. So it really comes down to who you're working with and who the big billboard is going to be. But even that, like the technology that has come in, like with these immersive volumes that they're able to shoot, like the Mandalorian and that kind of stuff, like the whole industry of set dressing has gone. Like people that would create towns and stuff like that, like their whole livelihoods is getting smaller and smaller. They're gonna have to work on smaller productions, where Star Wars is never going to create a large town anymore to film in. They're just going to use the volume, because again, they could get the same thing done for half the time, in half the time, where they create everything in 3D and then they are able to film it. Like, the actors love it more, the directors love it more, the producers love it more, and they're able to have they keep the whole unit in a comfortable setting, and they film for as long as they need, and they can switch out the dressing on the floor. So like that's a whole disruptor that most people aren't talking about. Like, VFX is taking off because of it, and that's a whole another thing that people got taken advantage of for not doing it. I almost got into VFX. I was going down that path. I was learning it. I was going to start it, and then it just, I don't know what happened. Well, 2008 happened. That's what happened. So film I was working on kind of lost their whole budget, so I wasn't able to work on that. But like, I was ready. I was on the Hollywood path, going to work in visual effects. Like, ILM and Weta is where I wanted to be. Like, me watching Lord of the Rings and like, just, that's what I wanted to do. And then like the whole industry went like this, and I'm glad I didn't work 18 hours a day. You know, I could have made way more money, but like, I don't think I would have the life that I have now. Like, very few were able to navigate that and come out successful. So that's a whole another industry disruptor that happened at that point. But so that's my rant. That's what I wanted to chat about today. If you want to be ready for this whole transition that is happening, look for those opportunities that are going to be able to allow you to create things that people are looking for faster. Because that is of value to many, many people, is to use these tools as they pop up. Because every new tool that come out, RotoBrush, the generative AI, I'm using all those to create the same kind of stuff that I've been creating for the last 20 years. Content that people watch, that people enjoy. So it really comes down to you, and embrace it. Embrace these new technologies that are coming up, because it is a pattern that will continue. There is no stopping being able to create faster or being able to do things faster. So it's like a Dr. Strangelove title. It's like how I stopped fearing and learned to love the bomb. That's the way you got to think about it, where it's just like, just accept it. Accept that it's going to be part of it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to learn how to use it. But know that if you do know how to use it, or if you're aware of it, you know where it falls apart, you already have an advantage that a lot of clients won't even be able to articulate and say, it's like, I want to use this AI tool. Be like, great, but what do you want to use it for? Just know that it won't be able to create what you think it can create. Like, if you know the limitations of these tools, you're already a step ahead. Like, half my job is also education to clients. They have this assumption of how fast something should be, how expensive something should be, and how easy something should be. And they're always, not always, some clients are amazing. Most clients don't have that experience, don't know that it doesn't work the way that, you know, that one video that they saw is not the way it works. Like, you have to have that part of your repertoire and your vernacular, your vocabulary of how to explain this. It's like I understand what you're going for, but know that if you want to gain that kind of attention, this is how it works right now. It may be there one day. And so it goes back to the whole thing where these 25-year-olds are able to create these amazing careers because they're able to create using all the new available tools. Don't be afraid of these tools. Use them and create something that can garner attention, because if you can garner attention or do something twice as fast, you're able to find those clients, because that's what clients value the most. Create something that is unique and new, because then you'll get hired to create that same thing, or you're able to do it faster than everyone else has been able to do it before. So find those two things, find those two avenues. If you want to garner the attention, create stuff and keep creating stuff that is unique to you, because that's why you're going to get hired, because of what you bring, not the tool that you're using. And if you can find a way to communicate those things, that's when you're going to succeed. Like, those are the steps. It's not easy. It's not fun. It's putting in the work. It's putting in the work beforehand. And then when you get that opportunity, you lean into it and you go even harder. That's not when you slow down. That's when you go harder. So I hope you're ready. I know I am, and I'm learning as I go all this time. There's a link in the description if you want to sign up for the waitlist for my enhanced editing course that I'm working on right now. It's going to be for Final Cut Pro. Make sure you sign up for that waitlist, so when it starts dropping, you guys are part of that waitlist. And yeah, and then after I create that, I'll probably move on to doing one for DaVinci Resolve, because there's still a lot to be learned and a lot of usefulness from these tools. And they're not going away anytime soon. They're just going to get better, and you're going to be able to create faster. So that's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we chatted about. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm looking forward to creating more videos. So I'm glad you guys joined me today for this live stream. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.